Let's get started with our first news update. Sean Strickland predicts Chimaev versus DDP. It looks like Khamzat Chimaev might finally be facing his toughest stylistic challenge yet in Darius Duplessis, at least according to two men who know a thing or two about both fighters. Sonnen and Sean Strickland recently both broke down the upcoming potential matchup, and their analysis has sparked serious debate across the MMA community. Sonnen, known for his sharp mind and deep understanding of fighting styles, raised some critical questions that many fans might be overlooking. He pointed out that while Chamayv has steamrolled his way through most opponents, this fight could be different. He specifically questioned whether Chamayv will be able to take Duplessis down at will or, more importantly, keep him there. According to Sonnen, if Darius can defend the early takedowns and avoid spending too much time on the mat, it could completely change the momentum of the fight. But on the flip side, if Chimaev is able to impose his wrestling early and drag DDP down in the first round, then things might spiral fast in favor of the undefeated Chechen. Despite those concerns, Sonnen still expects Chimaev to be the betting favorite, but he made it very clear that fans should not underestimate Duplessis' grit, durability, and underrated grappling. Then there's Sean Strickland, a man who has shared the cage with Duplessis twice, making him uniquely qualified to weigh in. In a recent interview with Helen Yee, Strickland echoed many of Sonnen's thoughts. He acknowledged Chimaev's elite wrestling and his relentless forward pressure, but also emphasized one critical point. If Darius can stuff the takedowns and counter-wrestle, he wins the fight hands down. Strickland never wanted to hold back his opinions and even made a bold comment saying that he could handle most of those effing Chechens in the gym. But when it comes to DDP, he's not sure the South African can do the same. However, he added, if Darius can deal with that kind of pressure, if he can neutralize the wrestling, then the bell isn't going anywhere. This potential title bout is already shaping up to be one of the most electrifying matchups of the year. The clash of styles, the undefeated streak, and the personal insights from fighters who've been in the octagon with these men. It's all adding fuel to an already burning fire of hype. So what do you think, fight fans? Will Khamzat Chimaev overwhelm Darius Duplessis in the early rounds and score another dominant finish? Or will the South African weather the storm, push the pace late, and outlast the undefeated powerhouse over 5 hard rounds to solidify himself as the dominant force at 185 pounds? Let us know in the comments below. This one could go either way. Moving on to our second news story. What if both Ilia and Islam lose their fights? Luke Thomas reacts. Can you imagine what would happen if both Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria were to lose their upcoming fights? This is not just a what-if scenario. It's a nightmare that analyst Luke Thomas recently laid out in detail. According to Luke, the prospect of Islam falling short in his welterweight debut against Jack Della Maddalena combined with Ilia getting stopped by Charles Oliveira would be nothing short of an absolute disaster for the UFC. And honestly, he's not wrong. While this outcome is far from the most likely result, both fighters are highly skilled and come in with strong momentum. The implications of such a double loss would be massive and reverberate throughout the sport. The UFC is already navigating a period of star power drought. Let's be real, Alex Pereira just lost his title, and Conor McGregor, who for years was the biggest name in the sport, is currently more famous for his off-the-wall antics, including sniffing substances off some very questionable surfaces, rather than for his fighting prowess. So he's not really carrying the torch right now. That leaves fighters like Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria as some of the few current headliners who still have global traction and growing fan bases. Islam, coming off dominant performances, represents not just elite grappling but also a connection to the massive Russian and Dagestani MMA markets. Meanwhile, Ilia is an exciting young prospect who's rapidly making a name for himself with his dynamic striking and aggressive style, and is building a loyal following in Europe and beyond. If either one of them falls in their upcoming fights, it would be a significant blow to the UFC's narrative of rising new stars. But if both were to go down, that would be a full-blown crisis. These two champions are more than just fighters. They are symbols of the UFC's hopes for maintaining international reach and long-term star power. Losing their momentum, even temporarily, would further expose the promotion's struggle to create new blockbuster stars who can fill the void left by previous legends. So if Topuria loses to Charles Oliveira and Islam loses to Jack Della Maddalena, what does the UFC even do next? How does the promotion rebuild excitement and maintain relevance in key markets? Luke Thomas noted some potential paths forward. Islam might move back down to lightweight, where he's more comfortable, or perhaps get a #1 contender fight to climb his way back. But the stakes feel even higher for Ilia because he's just beginning his run as a potential global superstar. Luke also pointed out another compounding factor. If both Islam and Ilia lose and the highly anticipated Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall fight never materializes, then we could be looking at an all-time disaster of a year for the UFC, a perfect storm of lost opportunities and fading star power. The UFC is at a crossroads. Will these fighters rise to the occasion, or will the promotion search for the next big thing hit a major roadblock? What's your take, fight fans? Can Islam and Ilia save the UFC's year? Or are we headed for a starless season? Let's move on to another intriguing update in the UFC world. Ilia Topuria responds to Paddy Pimblett. For a brief moment, it seemed like the long-standing tension between Ilia Topuria and Paddy Pimblett might have cooled off. Fans had hoped that the two fighters, who have been embroiled in a heated rivalry for quite some time, were finally putting their differences aside. But now, as Topuria makes the move up to lightweight and prepares to fight for the title, those simmering tensions have flared up once again, reigniting the verbal battle between El Matador and the Baddie. If you've been following the saga, you know that this rivalry is anything but new. The feud between these two fighters has been bubbling under the surface for months. However, things appeared to have calmed down for a little while after Ilia claimed the featherweight title and Paddy steadily climbed the lightweight rankings. The situation even seemed to reach a truce following their friendly fist bump backstage at UFC London, a moment that many took as a sign the beef was over. But fast forward to today, and the verbal warfare has returned with a vengeance. Recently, Paddy Pimblett, known for his bold personality and candid interviews, didn't hold back when talking about Ilia Topuria. Pimblett claimed that Topuria's path to the title has been hand-fed by the UFC. According to the Scouser fighter, Ilia's impressive wins over two of the sport's biggest names, Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway, are somewhat suspect. Pimblett argues that both Volkanovski and Holloway were not at their best when they faced Topuria, as they were coming off brutal knockout losses or hard-fought wars that left them vulnerable. Pimblett also took the opportunity to hype up his own place in the sport's hierarchy, saying that apart from the highly anticipated matchup between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall, a fight between him and Topuria would be one of the biggest and most exciting bouts in the entire UFC. When Ilia Topuria was recently asked about Pimblett's comments during an interview with WOW 19, he didn't hold back either. Topuria took the chance to poke fun at Pimblett's extravagant lifestyle, specifically referencing the lavish afterparty Pimblett threw on a private yacht after his victory over Michael Chandler at UFC 314. With a smirk, Ilia quipped, "Paddy knows where the money is now. He's got to pay for the parties he throws." This light-hearted jab highlights the ongoing tension, but also shows that Topuria isn't fazed by the Scouser's criticism. He's ready to let the talk fuel the fire for what could be a massive showdown.